On October 9th, 2024, a gray minivan came into my shop on a flatbed. The owner followed behind in her sister's car, and the first thing she said to me was, "It won't back out of the driveway until it warms up." Every morning, same routine: shift into reverse, wait 4, 5, sometimes 10 seconds, then a clunk, and the van would finally move. A shop across town had already told her the transmission was failing. The quote in her hand said $4,800 for a rebuilt unit. The van had 96,000 miles on it. I want you to remember that number, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand why that quote was written, why it was wrong, and why the real problem was a part that cost less than a tank of gas. A part almost nobody ever talks about. A part most owners don't even know their car has. Here's the thing everyone knows about their car. It has filters. Ask any driver to name them and they'll get 3. The oil filter, that one gets changed every service, no argument. The engine air filter, the shop shows it to you, dirty side up, every time you come in. Maybe the cabin air filter, the one behind your glove box that makes the vents smell better. Some people will even remember the fuel filter. But there is a 4th filter, and it is buried in the one place nobody ever looks, inside your automatic transmission, submerged in fluid, bolted underneath everything, invisible unless someone deliberately goes in after it. And here's what should bother you. That filter has been sitting in there catching debris since the day your car rolled off the assembly line. In most vehicles on the road today, it has never been touched, not once. Not at 30,000 miles, not at 60, not at 100. Today I'm going to show you what that filter actually does, why it quietly chokes, why the symptoms get misdiagnosed as transmission failure, and why the industry, dealers and independent shops both, has almost no incentive to tell you about it. And I'll be straight with you about the other side too, because there are situations where touching this filter is the wrong move. And I'll tell you exactly how to know the difference. Let's start with what's actually down there. If you unbolt the pan on the bottom of most automatic transmissions, that flat metal tray holding several quarts of red fluid, you'll find the filter sitting right above it, connected to a pickup tube. It doesn't look like an oil filter. It's usually a flat plastic housing with a felt or paper element inside, or on some units, a fine metal mesh screen. And its job is simple but absolutely critical. Every drop of fluid your transmission uses gets pulled through that filter first. Here's why that matters. Your automatic transmission is not a gearbox in the way people imagine. It's a hydraulic machine. When your engine runs, a pump inside the transmission draws fluid up from the pan through that filter, pressurizes it, and sends it through the valve body to the clutch packs that actually make your car shift. No pressure, no shifts. Reduced pressure, bad shifts. Your transmission doesn't shift with muscle, it shifts with fluid pressure, and the filter is the only doorway that fluid can enter through. Now here is the uncomfortable part. Unlike your oil filter, which mostly catches outside contamination, the transmission filter catches the transmission eating itself. That sounds dramatic, but it is just physics. Every time your transmission shifts, clutch plates grab and release. Those plates are lined with friction material, and every engagement sheds a microscopic amount of it into the fluid. That is normal. That is by design. It is like brake pads they are supposed to wear. Add in fine metal particles from gears and bushings breaking in, and the fluid slowly carries a haze of debris. The filter catches it. Year after year, shift after shift, millions of engagements, and every particle ends up in that felt element. So what happens when a filter spends 15 years collecting and nobody ever empties it? The same thing that happens to any filter. It restricts. And this is where the story gets expensive, because a restricted transmission filter doesn't announce itself. It impersonates a de-icing transmission. Think about drinking a thick milkshake through a straw. Now pinch the straw halfway. You can still drink, but you have to pull harder, and you get less. That's your transmission pump trying to pull fluid through a clogged filter. The pump is starving, and a starving pump means low pressure everywhere downstream. And cold fluid makes it worse. When transmission fluid is cold, it's thicker, harder to pull through a restricted element. Which is exactly why that minivan would not engage reverse on cold mornings but drove almost normally after 20 minutes. The fluid warmed up, thinned out, and just enough of it squeezed through the clogged filter to build working pressure. The symptoms of a starved pump read like a transmission obituary. Delayed engagement when you shift from park into drive or reverse, that pause, then the clunk. A high-pitched whine that rises and falls with engine RPM because the pump is cavitating, pulling air pockets instead of solid fluid. Slipping, where the engine revs but the car does not accelerate to match because the clutch packs cannot clamp hard enough on low pressure. Harsh, inconsistent shifts. Overheating, because that same fluid flow is also what carries heat out of the transmission. Every one of those symptoms also appears when a transmission is genuinely dying. And that's the trap. A shop sees delayed engagement and slipping on a vehicle with 96,000 miles, and the conversation jumps straight to rebuild or replace. Nobody drops the pan first, because dropping the pan takes an hour and pays almost nothing, while a rebuild pays thousands. I'm not telling you every shop is dishonest, most aren't, but I am telling you the incentive structure doesn't reward the cheap answer. A filter and a pan gasket is a small ticket. There's also a genuine knowledge gap, because somewhere in the last 20 years, the industry started training everyone, mechanics included, to believe transmissions don't need service anymore. Which brings me to the phrase that has probably cost drivers more money than any other two words in modern car ownership: lifetime fluid. Open a lot of owner's manuals today, and you'll find no transmission service interval at all, or you'll find the words, filled for life. Many modern transmissions don't even have a dipstick anymore. Sealed units. And people hear sealed and lifetime, and they reasonably conclude the fluid and filter never wear out. Here's the honest translation. Lifetime means the expected life of the vehicle as the manufacturer defines it, and manufacturers are thinking about warranty periods and first owners, not about you trying to get 250,000 miles out of the car. The fluid doesn't know it's been declared immortal. It still shears down, still oxidizes with heat, still carries friction material. The filter still catches all of it. What actually changed is who benefits. No scheduled service means lower advertised maintenance costs, which helps sell cars. Even some transmission manufacturers themselves, the companies that actually build these units for the automakers, publish service recommendations for fluid and filter changes on transmissions that the car brands market as maintenance-free. Sit with that contradiction for a second. The people who built the transmission say service it. The people who sold you the car say don't worry about it. And on a lot of modern transmissions, the engineers quietly acknowledge the filter matters in an interesting way. They built the filter directly into the pan. One plastic assembly, pan and filter as a single unit. You don't change the filter, you change the whole pan, filter included. Which tells you the filter was always a wear item. They just repackaged it. Now, before you run to the garage with a wrench, this is the part where I have to be honest with you because this topic has a genuine caveat, and skipping it would make me no better than the videos that got you scared in the first place. There is a real phenomenon where a transmission gets serviced late in life, 150,000 plus miles, fluid never touched, dark and burnt, and fails shortly after. People conclude the service killed it. Here's what actually happens. That transmission was already failing. The clutch material was already worn thin. and the old, debris-laden fluid was masking how far gone things were. The service didn't cause the failure, it revealed it, and sometimes accelerated the last chapter. So here's my rule, and it's the same rule I use in my own shop. If your transmission is shifting fine, service it on schedule and keep it healthy. That's prevention. And prevention is where the filter change belongs. If your transmission is already slipping badly with fluid that smells like burnt toast at 180,000 miles and has never been serviced, a filter is not going to resurrect dead clutch material. At that point, you need a real diagnosis, not a service. The filter change is a health habit and a diagnostic step. It is not a resurrection. And one more distinction that matters more than almost anything else in this video. A pan drop service and a machine flush are not the same thing. This is the question to ask any shop. A flush machine pushes new fluid through the system, and depending on the machine, it can exchange most of the fluid, but it never touches the filter. The pan stays bolted on. You can flush a transmission 3 times, and that 15-year-old filter is still sitting in there, still restricting, still holding everything it ever caught. A pan drop is the opposite. The pan comes off, the filter comes out and gets replaced, the pan gets cleaned, and here's a detail most owners have never seen. There's a magnet in the bottom of that pan, put there by the factory, specifically to catch metal particles. Reading that magnet is like reading a blood test. A thin gray paste of fine fuzz on the magnet is normal wear, nothing to fear. Glitter in the fluid, or actual chunks and flakes, means real damage is happening upstream, and now you know before it strands you. The filter service isn't just maintenance. It's the single best look inside your transmission you can get without tearing it apart. The downside of a pan drop alone is that it only removes maybe 1/3 to half of the total fluid, because the torque converter and cooler lines hold the rest. That's fine. Do it on interval and the fluid stays perpetually refreshed. The best case service is both. Drop the pan, replace the filter, then exchange the rest of the fluid. Filter first, always. So what should you actually do? If your vehicle has a serviceable transmission filter, and most conventional automatics do, a fluid and filter service somewhere in the 50,000 to 60,000 mile range for hard use, or up to about every 100,000 miles for easy highway driving, is cheap insurance. If you tow, carry loads, do rideshare, or live in stop-and-go traffic or serious heat, lean toward the shorter end, because heat is what kills fluid. If your car has one of those integrated pan filter units, the part costs more, but the logic is identical. And if a shop quotes you a transmission replacement for delayed engagement or slipping, especially on a vehicle under 120,000 miles that hasn't thrown metal, ask one question first. Have you dropped the pan and looked at the filter and the magnet? If the answer is no, get a second opinion before you sign anything. That minivan from the beginning? We dropped the pan. The filter element was so loaded it had started to collapse against the pickup. The magnet showed normal gray fuzz, no glitter, no chunks. New filter, fresh fluid, 1 hour of labor. She backed out of my lot in reverse, cold, instantly. That was over a year and 15,000 miles ago, and it still shifts like it should. The difference between her $4,800 quote and what she actually paid was one hidden filter and one shop willing to look. Your car has 4 filters. You have been maintaining 3 of them. The 4th one has been doing its job in the dark this whole time, waiting for somebody to finally check on it. If this video just explained a problem you've been living with, hit that like button so it reaches the next driver holding a scary quote. Subscribe if you want more of what actually happens under your car, explained without the panic. And I want to hear from you in the comments. How many miles are on your vehicle, and has your transmission filter ever been changed? Be honest. Because the most expensive part on your car isn't the transmission. It's the filter nobody ever told you about.